My hands are shaking as I stare at my reflection in the bedroom mirror. The diamond earrings catch the light, the ones Mark gave me for our 3rd anniversary just 2 months ago. "You're the only woman I'll ever love," he'd whispered that night, sliding them into my ears with trembling fingers. Now, those same hands are downstairs, probably scrolling through his phone, sending God knows what messages to God knows who. "Rachel, we're going to be late." His voice carries that familiar edge of impatience, but there's something else tonight. Something that makes my skin crawl, though I can't quite place what it is. I fasten the matching necklace around my throat, the one that completes the set. The woman staring back at me looks perfect. Hair swept up in an elegant chignon, makeup flawless, the little black dress that hugs every curve just right. I look like I'm dressed for a celebration. Maybe that's exactly what this is, just not the kind I'm expecting. The past week has been different. Mark's been different. Those late-night phone calls he takes in the garage, thinking I'm asleep. The way he quickly closes his laptop when I walk into the room. The credit card statements that show charges I don't recognise. But tonight, he wanted to take me somewhere special. "Trust me," he'd said with that boyish grin that first made me fall in love with him. "You're going to love this." Trust him. The words taste bitter now as I grab my purse and take one last look at myself. Something deep in my gut is screaming that this is wrong. All wrong. But I've ignored that voice before. I've become an expert at ignoring it. "Coming," I call out, my voice artificially bright. The car ride is suffocating. Mark keeps checking his phone at every red light, his jaw clenched so tight I can see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. His cologne smells different tonight. Not the woody scent I bought him last Christmas, but something sharper, more expensive, something that doesn't smell like us. "You look incredible," he says suddenly, his eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. But his voice sounds like he's reading from a script, like he's practicing lines for a play I wasn't cast in. I reach over to touch his hand on the steering wheel, the way I've done 1,000 times before. He flinches. Actually, flinches away from my touch before forcing that plastic smile. I've been seeing too much of lately. "Where are we going exactly?" I ask, watching the familiar streets of downtown blur past. We're heading toward the old part of the city, where the restaurants are small and intimate and romantic, where couples go to celebrate anniversaries and engagements and all those moments that supposedly matter forever. He doesn't answer immediately, just keeps driving with this strange, almost manic intensity, like he's rushing towards something he both wants and dreads. "It's a surprise," he finally says, but there's no joy in his voice, no excitement, just this hollow determination that makes my stomach twist into knots. And then I see it. Chez Laurent, the little French bistro with the red awning and the window boxes full of flowers. The same corner table where we had our first date 3 years ago. The same booth where he told me he was falling in love with me over shared creme brulee and cheap wine that tasted like heaven because we were young and stupid and believed him forever. Why would he bring me here if something was wrong? You don't take someone to the place where you fell in love to break their heart, do you? But as the valet takes our car and Mark's hand finds the small of my back to guide me inside, that terrible voice in my head whispers, "Unless that's exactly the point." The maitre d' recognises us immediately. "Monsieur and Madame Sterling, your usual table, oui?" He's beaming, probably remembering the generous tips Mark always leaves, the way we hold hands across the table like newlyweds, even after 3 years together. "Actually," Mark says, his voice tight, "we'll need the table for 3 tonight." 3. The word hits me like a physical blow. I turn to stare at him, but he's already following the maitre d' deeper into the restaurant, leaving me to stumble after them on legs that suddenly feel like they're made of water. Our usual table, the one by the window with the view of the little courtyard garden. The same flickering candle that always made everything feel magical, romantic, like we were the only two people in the world. But tonight, as Mark pulls out my chair with mechanical politeness, the flame feels ominous. It casts strange shadows across his face, making him look like a stranger. "Mark," I say softly, settling into my seat and watching him fidget with his menu. He's not reading it, just using it as a shield, something to hide behind while he builds up the courage for whatever comes next. "What's going on? Who's joining us?" He sets down the menu and looks at me with an expression I've never seen before. It's the look someone gives you when they're memorizing your face, when they're saying goodbye without words. "Rachel," he starts, his voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk." Those 4 words. Every woman knows those 4 words. They're the beginning of the end, the first notes of a song that always ends in heartbreak. My water glass trembles in my hand as I set it down carefully, trying to keep the panic from showing on my face. "About what?" I ask, though I already know. I can see it in his eyes, in the way he keeps glancing toward the restaurant entrance like he's waiting for someone. Like he's expecting someone. "I've been thinking about us, about everything we've built together, and He stops mid-sentence, his gaze fixed on something behind me. The colour drains from his face, and for a moment, he looks almost relieved. I turn to follow his gaze, and my blood turns to ice. A woman is walking towards our table. She's tall, elegant, with long auburn hair that catches the light like liquid fire. She moves with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing every man in the room is watching her, every woman is envying her. She's wearing a dress that probably costs more than my monthly salary, and she's looking directly at me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. But it's not a stranger's smile. It's the smile of someone who knows exactly who I am, someone who's been thinking about this moment for a very long time. "Who is that?" I whisper, but Mark's already standing up, his chair scraping against the floor with a sound like fingernails on a chalkboard. The woman approaches our table with the grace of a predator stalking wounded prey. She's beautiful in that effortless way that makes other women feel inadequate, but there's something cold in her green eyes, something calculating that makes my skin crawl. "Rachel," Mark says, his voice stronger now, like this woman's presence has given him some kind of power he was lacking before. "I'd like you to meet Sarah." Sarah? The name hits me like a physical blow, stealing the breath from my lungs. Sarah, his ex-girlfriend, the one he claimed he never talked to anymore. The one who supposedly moved to Seattle for work 2 years ago. The one who's standing right here, right now, in the restaurant where Mark and I fell in love. "Hello, Rachel," Sarah says, extending her hand with mock politeness. Her voice is honey and poison, sweet on the surface, but with something toxic underneath. "I've heard so much about you." I stare at her outstretched hand like it's a snake about to strike. Everything is moving too fast, too surreal. This can't be happening. This is the stuff of nightmares, not real life. "I don't understand," I manage to whisper, my voice coming out small and broken. "What are you doing here?" Sarah's smile widens and she slides into the booth next to Mark without being invited. Like she belongs there. Like she's always belonged there. "Well," she says, settling in and reaching for Mark's hand like it's the most natural thing in the world. "That's a very good question." Mark doesn't pull away from her touch, doesn't even seem surprised by it. Instead, he looks at me with those dark eyes I used to love and says the words that shatter my world into a million pieces. "Rachel, there's something I need to tell you. Something we need to tell you." We. The word echoes in my head like a death knell. Not I. We. "You see," Sarah continues, her voice gentle but her eyes hard as diamonds. "Mark and I have been talking. About us. About you. About what happens next." The restaurant spins around me. The other diners, the soft classical music, the romantic lighting, it all becomes a blur of noise and colour as my brain tries to process what's happening. This isn't a romantic dinner. This isn't a celebration. This is an execution, and I'm the one facing the firing squad. I brought you here, Mark says, his voice steady now, clinical, because this place means something to us, to what we had. But Sarah and we've realised that what we had before was real. What we have now is real. The words hit me like slaps across the face, each one more painful than the last. He's breaking up with me here, now, in front of her, in the place where we began. But something in Sarah's expression tells me this is just the beginning, that the real surprise is still coming. And as she leans forward with that predatory smile and says, "There's so much more to explain, Rachel, so much you don't know about the last 3 years," I realise that everything I thought I knew about my life, about my love, about myself, was nothing but an elaborate lie. The game is just beginning, and I'm about to learn that sometimes the prey has teeth too. What I don't know? The words scrape against my throat like broken glass. What are you talking about? Sarah's laugh is like silver bells with a razor edge. She signals the waiter with a casual wave, ordering a bottle of champagne as if we're celebrating something. Dom Perignon, 2015, she says smoothly. We're having a special evening. My hands are gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles have gone white. Mark, what is she talking about? What don't I know? But Mark won't meet my eyes. He's staring at his hands, fidgeting with his wedding ring, the ring that matches the one on my finger, the one we picked out together just 6 months ago when we got engaged, the ring that was supposed to symbolise forever. The thing is, Rachel, Sarah continues, leaning back in the booth like she owns the place, Mark and I never really broke up. Not in the way you think. The world tilts sideways. That's impossible. You moved to Seattle. You've been gone for 2 years. Oh, honey. Sarah's voice drips with full sympathy. I've been in Seattle, yes. But gone? Never gone. Mark and I talk every day. Video calls, texts, emails. He flies out to see me twice a month. Sometimes I come here. I turn to Mark, desperate for him to deny it, to tell me she's lying, she's crazy, she's anything but telling the truth. But his silence is deafening. The hotel charges on your credit card, I whisper, the pieces clicking together like a puzzle I never wanted to solve. The business trips that seem to happen more and more often. The way you'd get defensive when I asked about your work schedule. I tried to end it, Mark says quietly, finally looking up at me. When we first started dating, I tried to break it off with Sarah completely. But she's like a drug, Rachel. I couldn't quit her. Sarah reaches across the table and takes his hand, her fingers intertwining with his like they've done it 1,000 times before. We have history, you see. 7 years of history. You can't just erase that kind of connection. 7 years, my voice cracks. You told me you dated for 2 years. You said it wasn't serious. I lied. Mark's admission is barely audible. We were together for 7 years, living together for 5. We were engaged. The champagne arrives and Sarah pours 3 glasses with practiced ease. She slides one toward me, but I can't move. I can't breathe. I can't process what I'm hearing. Engaged, I repeat numbly. You were engaged to her. We still are, technically, Sarah says, holding up her left hand. A massive diamond ring catches the candlelight. A ring that makes my engagement ring look like costume jewellery. I never gave it back. Mark never asked for it back. We just took a break. A break that lasted 3 years, I managed to whisper. A break that included you, Mark corrects. You were the break, Rachel. The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the table harder, my vision blurring at the edges. I was the break. Sarah takes a sip of champagne, watching me over the rim of her glass with those calculating green eyes. We needed to know if what we had was real, if we could actually be apart, if we could love other people. So you what? Tested it? Tested me? Not tested you exactly, Mark says, and for the first time tonight he looks genuinely uncomfortable. Tested us. Tested whether we could stay away from each other. And clearly, Sarah adds with a triumphant smile, we can't. I stand up so abruptly that my chair tips backward, clattering to the floor. Several diners turn to stare, but I don't care. I can't sit here anymore. I can't listen to this anymore. You're telling me, I say, my voice rising despite my efforts to keep it steady, that our entire relationship was fake, that every I love you, every plan we made, every moment we shared, it was all just some sick experiment? Not fake, Mark says quickly, reaching for my hand. I jerk away from him like his touch burns. It was real for me, Rachel. I did love you. I do love you. But not enough, Sarah interjects smoothly. Not more than he loves me. I'm leaving. I grab my purse, but Sarah's voice stops me. Sit down, Rachel. There's something in her tone. A command, not a request. Something that raises every hair on my arms. Excuse me. I said, sit down, please. She gestures to my chair, which the waiter has helpfully righted. We're not finished yet. Oh, I think we are. I take a step toward the exit, but Sarah's next words freeze me in place. Don't you want to know about the investigation? Investigation. The word hangs in the air like a poisonous cloud. I turn back slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. What investigation? Sarah's smile is sharp enough to cut glass. The one into your background, your finances, your family, your past relationships. Did you really think Mark would date someone for 3 years without doing a thorough background check? I feel like I'm drowning in plain sight. You investigated me? I investigated you, Sarah corrects. I'm a private investigator, Rachel. I own my own firm in Seattle. When Mark told me he was serious about someone new, I did what I do best. I dug into your life. My legs give out and I sink back into my chair. Why? Because I needed to know if you were a threat. Sarah pulls out her phone and begins scrolling through what looks like a folder of documents. I needed to know if you were the kind of woman who could actually take Mark away from me permanently. And? The word comes out as barely a whisper. And you're not. Sarah shows me the phone screen. It's a detailed report with my photo at the top. Pages and pages of information about my life, my work, my family, my credit score, my medical records. You're exactly what I thought you'd be. Safe, predictable, temporary. Jesus Christ, I breathe, staring at the invasion of my privacy laid out in black and white. This is insane. This is illegal. Actually, it's not, Sarah says, tucking the phone away. Everything I found is public record or easily accessible. You'd be amazed what people put on social media these days. Mark is staring at his champagne glass like it holds the answers to the universe. Sarah, maybe we should... Should what? Sarah's voice cuts through his protest like a blade. Stop now, after everything we've invested in this. Invested, I echo. What do you mean, invested? Sarah and Mark exchange a look that makes my stomach drop even further. There's something else, something worse than what they've already told me. The apartment, Mark says quietly. The one we live in together. It's not mine. What do you mean it's not yours? But even as I ask, I know before he says it. It's Sarah's. She owns it. She's been paying the rent the entire time we've been together. The room spins. That's impossible. You said you bought it 2 years ago. You showed me the mortgage papers. Fake, Sarah says simply. I had them made. I wanted to see how long it would take you to ask questions about finances, about the future, about marriage. I wanted to see how gullible you really were. And I passed that test too, didn't I? My voice is bitter, broken. I believed everything, every lie, every manipulation. You did, Sarah agrees, with flying colours. You never questioned anything, never pushed for joint bank accounts or shared assets, never demanded to see real proof of anything. You just trusted. Like an idiot. Like someone in love, Mark says quietly, and for a moment, I almost believe there's genuine regret in his voice. Almost. Sarah refills her champagne glass. Love makes people stupid, Rachel. It makes them blind. It makes them easy to manipulate. Is that what this was? Manipulation? This was research, as Sarah corrects. I needed to understand what kind of woman could make Mark think he wanted to leave me. I needed to see if you had any real power over him, any lasting influence. And Sarah's smile is victorious. You don't. You never did. You were a placeholder, Rachel, a temporary distraction while Mark and I figured out how to be together permanently. I look at Mark, searching his face for any sign that this isn't true, that there's some piece of him that genuinely cared about me. But he's nodding, accepting Sarah's version of events like gospel. The job offer, I say suddenly, another piece clicking into place. The one in Chicago, the one that came out of nowhere 6 months ago, the one I turned down to stay here with you. Mark's face goes pale. Rachel? You arranged it, I continue, the truth hitting me like a freight train. You wanted me to take it. You wanted me to leave. I thought it would be easier, he admits. If you moved away, if you started over somewhere else, then Sarah and I could what? Get back together without having to face the mess you'd made. Sarah laughs, the sound like breaking crystal. Oh, Rachel, we never stopped being together. The mess was always temporary. I stand up again, but this time I'm not shaking. This time I'm not broken. This time I'm angry, furious. Rage is burning through my veins like molten metal, and for the first time in 3 years, I feel completely, crystal clearly awake. You know what the funny thing is? I say, my voice steady and cold. I actually thought I loved you. Rachel, Mark starts, but I hold up my hand. I'm not finished. I look at both of them, really look at them, and I see them clearly for the first time. 2 people who think they're clever, 2 people who think they've won, 2 people who have no idea what they've just unleashed. You think you've been playing me, I continue, my voice getting stronger with every word. You think you've been so smart, so careful, so thorough in your investigation and your manipulation. Sarah's smile falters slightly. What are you getting at? I'm getting at the fact that you've made a very big mistake. What mistake? Mark asks, and I can hear the first note of uncertainty in his voice. I reach into my purse and pull out my phone. I set it on the table between us, and I see their eyes widen as they realise what it is. You see this little app here? I point to the screen. It's called a voice recorder. I've been recording everything since the moment Sarah sat down. The colour drains from both their faces. Every confession, every admission, every detail about your fraud, your manipulation, your conspiracy to deceive me, all of it is right here in perfect digital clarity. You can't, Sarah starts, but I cut her off. I can, and I will. I stand up, pocketing the phone. Because, you see, Sarah, you made one crucial error in your investigation. What error? I smile, and I know it's not a nice smile. I know it's the smile of someone who's just realised they hold all the cards. You investigated Rachel Morrison, the quiet little secretary who works at the insurance company downtown, the woman who trusts everyone and questions nothing, the woman who's never been in a real fight in her life. Sarah's face is white as paper. What are you saying? I'm saying you never investigated Rachel Morrison Chen. You never looked deep enough to find out about my mother's side of the family. You never discovered that my uncle owns the biggest law firm in the state. You never learned that my cousin is a prosecutor who specializes in fraud cases. Mark is staring at me like he's seeing me for the first time. Rachel, what are you... I'm saying that you just confessed to multiple felonies in front of someone who knows exactly what to do with that information. I pick up my purse and throw my napkin on the table. I'm saying that your little game is over. You're bluffing, Sarah says, but her voice is shaking. Am I? I lean down close to her ear. Try me. I turn to walk away, but Sarah grabs my wrist. Wait, we can work this out. We can make a deal. I look down at her hand on my arm, then back up at her face. Take your hand off me. She releases me immediately. There's no deal, I say quietly. There's no negotiation. There's only consequences. Rachel, please, Mark says, standing up. Let's talk about this. Let's talk? I laugh, and it's not a nice sound. You want to talk? After 3 years of lies, after making me think I was losing my mind, after bringing me here to humiliate me in front of your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend, Mark says desperately. She's going to be your cellmate, I interrupt, because identity theft, fraud, conspiracy, and extortion are all felonies, and you just confessed to all of them. I walk toward the exit, my head held high, my steps steady. But just as I reach the door, I turn back one last time. Oh, and Mark, you might want to start looking for a new place to live, because I'm going to make sure Sarah's assets are frozen pending investigation, including that apartment you've been living in. As I push through the door and step out into the cool night air, I hear Sarah's voice behind me, high and panicked. She's bluffing, Mark. She has to be bluffing. But I'm not bluffing. Not even a little bit. The game is just beginning, and this time, I'm the one holding all the cards. The cool night air hits my face like a slap of reality as I step out of Chez Laurent. My hands are steady now, my breathing controlled. For the first time in 3 years, I feel like myself again. The real me, not the naive, trusting woman they thought they knew. My phone buzzes with a text from Mark. Rachel, please, we need to talk. This doesn't have to get ugly. I delete it without responding and dial a number I haven't called in months. Uncle David, it's Rachel. I know it's late, but I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. Within 30 minutes, I'm sitting in the mahogany-panelled office of Morrison, Chen and Associates, the law firm that's been in my family for 3 generations. Uncle David pours himself a scotch and offers me one, but I decline. I need my head completely clear for what comes next. Play it, he says simply after I've given him the basics. I connect my phone to his office speakers and hit play. Mark and Sarah's voices fill the room, their confessions echoing off the expensive wood panelling. Uncle David's expression grows darker with each revelation. Jesus, Rachel, he says when the recording ends. How long has this been going on? 3 years. The entire relationship. I pull out a folder I've been carrying in my purse. But that's not all. Uncle David raises an eyebrow as I spread photographs across his desk. Pictures of Mark entering and leaving Sarah's Seattle apartment. Credit card statements showing hotel charges that match her travel schedule. Screenshots of text messages I managed to recover from Mark's laptop last week when he forgot to log out. You've been investigating them for 2 months, I admit. Ever since I found a receipt for jewellery I never received. I hired a private investigator of my own. You never told me you suspected... I didn't want to believe it, I say, cutting him off. Even when the evidence was staring me in the face, I kept hoping I was wrong. I kept thinking there had to be another explanation. Uncle David studies the photos with the practiced eye of someone who's seen every kind of deception. This is extensive, professional-level surveillance. Jennifer Walsh, she used to work with the FBI. She's very thorough. And very expensive, I smile grimly. I used the money from the joint savings account, the one Mark thought I didn't know about, the one he's been funding with Sarah's money. Smart girl. Uncle David leans back in his chair. So, what do you want to do with all this? I want to destroy them. The words hang in the air between us. Uncle David has known me since I was born, watched me grow up from a quiet, gentle child into a woman who's never raised her voice in anger. He's never seen this side of me before. Rachel, are you sure? Once we start down this path, they humiliated me in public. They made me question my own sanity. They stole 3 years of my life for some sick psychological experiment. My voice is cold, controlled. I'm sure. He nods slowly. What did you have in mind? Everything. Fraud charges for the fake mortgage documents. Identity theft for using my credit to secure the apartment lease. Conspiracy to commit fraud. And I want civil damages for emotional distress, defamation, and fraudulent misrepresentation. The criminal charges will be up to the prosecutor. Cousin Amy will handle those, won't she? Uncle David's smile is sharp. Amy loves a good fraud case, especially one this well documented. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Mark. Sarah's panicking. She wants to make a deal. Please call me. I show the message to Uncle David. They're scared. Good. Let them sweat for a while. He starts gathering the evidence. I'll have papers drawn up first thing in the morning. Restraining orders, asset freezes, the works. There's more, I say quietly. More what? Evidence. Things they don't know I have. I pull out a USB drive and slide it across the desk. Security footage from the apartment building. The one Sarah doesn't know has cameras in the parking garage. 2 years' worth of her coming and going. Uncle David plugs in the drive and scrolls through the files. This is comprehensive. And video from the hotel in Chicago where they met last month. The one with the business center where they used the computers to create those fake documents. How did you... Jennifer Walsh has connections everywhere. Hotel security, building management, you name it. Sarah may be good at her job, but she's not the only private investigator in the world. My phone rings. It's Mark. I let it go to voicemail, then play the message on speaker. Rachel, please. Sarah's talking about leaving town, about disappearing. She's saying you can't prove anything, that it's all circumstantial. But I know you, and I know you wouldn't have played that recording unless you had something solid. Please, just call me back. Let's figure this out like adults. Uncle David chuckles. Like adults. That's rich. He's right about one thing, I say. Sarah's going to run. She's too smart to stick around once she realizes how much trouble she's in. Then we move fast. I'll call Amy now, get the ball rolling on the criminal charges. We can have warrants issued by morning. Wait, I hold up my hand. I want to do this my way. Rachel, trust me, please. He studies my face for a long moment, then nods. What did you have in mind? I pull out my phone and start typing a message to Mark. Meet me at the apartment tomorrow at noon. Come alone, we need to talk. His response comes back immediately. Thank you, I'll be there. I show the message to Uncle David. I'm going to give them one last chance to confess everything, on the record. That's risky. If they lawyer up, they won't. They're too arrogant. They think they can still manipulate me, still convince me to let this slide. And if you're wrong, then we proceed with the charges anyway. But if I'm right, if they confess to everything tomorrow, we'll have them dead to rights. Uncle David shakes his head. You've changed, Rachel. The woman who walked in here an hour ago isn't the same person who used to bring me cookies at Christmas. Maybe she never existed, I say quietly. Maybe I've been hiding who I really am for so long that I forgot myself. And who are you really? I think about that for a moment. About the woman who spent 2 months methodically gathering evidence while pretending to be oblivious. About the woman who recorded her own humiliation to use as ammunition. About the woman who's sitting here planning the systematic destruction of 2 people she once trusted. I'm my father's daughter, I say finally, and my grandmother's granddaughter. I come from a long line of women who don't let people walk all over them. Uncle David raises his Scotch glass. To your grandmother? She would have been proud. The next morning, I'm up at dawn, going through my evidence one more time. Every document, every photo, every recording. I've organised it all into a comprehensive file that would make any prosecutor salivate. My phone has been buzzing constantly with calls and texts from both Mark and Sarah. Panic messages about needing to talk, about making things right, about how sorry they are. I ignore them all. At 11:30, I'm sitting in my own living room. The living room I thought was ours, waiting for Mark to arrive. I've set up a small recording device on the coffee table, barely visible but perfectly positioned to catch every word. The apartment looks different now that I know the truth about it. The furniture we picked out together, the artwork we bought on vacation, the little touches that made it feel like home. It all feels like stage dressing now. Props in an elaborate play where I was the only one who didn't know I was acting. Mark arrives exactly at noon, looking haggard and desperate. He's wearing the blue shirt I bought him for his birthday, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. Thank you for agreeing to see me, he says, sitting down across from me like he's afraid I might run. Where's Sarah? At a hotel near the airport. She's scared, Rachel. Really scared. She should be. Mark runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I used to find endearing. Look, I know what we did was wrong. I know we hurt you, but we never meant for it to go this far. What did you mean for it to go? Exactly how long were you planning to keep me as your pet experiment? It wasn't supposed to be an experiment, he says desperately. It started that way, but then I really did fall for you. What I felt for you was real, Rachel. It is real. So just not real enough to choose me over her. It's complicated. No, it's not. I lean forward, my voice steady and cold. It's actually very simple. You're a coward who couldn't make a choice, so you decided to have both. And when that wasn't enough, you decided to torture me for your own entertainment. That's not what happened. Then tell me what did happen. Tell me the truth, all of it, starting from the beginning. Mark takes a shaky breath and begins to talk, and I record every word. He tells me about how he and Sarah planned it all, how they decided to test their relationship by seeing if he could fall in love with someone else, how they chose me specifically because I seemed safe, unlikely to cause problems. He tells me about the fake apartment, the staged business trips, the elaborate lies they constructed to keep me in the dark, how Sarah orchestrated everything from Seattle, pulling strings like a puppet master. He tells me about the nights he spent on video calls with her, laughing about my trusting nature, my gullibility, my pathetic devotion to a man who was never really mine. And with every confession, every detail, every casual cruelty, I feel the last vestiges of the woman I used to be burning away. The woman who trusted, the woman who believed in love, the woman who thought the best of people. That woman is gone. In her place sits someone harder, colder, infinitely more dangerous. Someone who's about to show Mark and Sarah exactly what happens when you underestimate the wrong person. Is that everything? I ask when he finally stops talking. Yes. God, Rachel, I'm so sorry. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but... You're right, I interrupt, standing up. You don't. I walk to the window and look down at the street below. A black sedan is parked across from the building. Right on time. Mark, there's something I need to tell you. What? I turn back to face him, and he flinches at the expression on my face. Remember when you asked me last night if I was bluffing about the recording? Yeah? I wasn't bluffing about that, but I was lying about something else. What do you mean? I mean, this conversation we just had. isn't the first time you've confessed everything to me." The colour drains from his face. "What are you talking about?" 3 weeks ago, you got drunk and told me everything, every detail, every lie, every moment of your sick little game. That's impossible. I would remember. You were blackout drunk. Sarah had just broken up with her boyfriend in Seattle. Yes, Mark, she had another boyfriend this whole time. And you came home crying about how you'd lost the love of your life. How you'd wasted 3 years playing house with someone you didn't really love. Mark's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. I recorded that conversation too. And then I did something you never expected. What? I fought back. As if on cue, there's a knock at the door. Mark starts to get up, but I motion for him to stay seated. That would be the FBI, I say calmly, walking to the door. Sarah's little private investigation business. It turns out she's been using it to run all kinds of interesting scams. Identity theft, blackmail, corporate espionage. The works. Rachel, what did you do? I did what Sarah taught me to do, I say, my hand on the doorknob. I investigated, and what I found was very, very interesting. The knock comes again, more insistent this time. You see, Mark, Sarah made one crucial mistake in all her planning. What mistake? I smile, and I know it's not a kind smile. I know it's the smile of someone who's been planning this moment for weeks. She assumed I was exactly who I appeared to be. I open the door, and 3 FBI agents step into the apartment. Mark Sterling. The lead agent holds up his badge. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. As they read him his rights and put him in handcuffs, Mark stares at me with pure shock. How? He whispers. Sarah's not the only one with family connections, I say as they lead him toward the door. My brother works for the Bureau, has for 10 years, and he's been very interested in Sarah's business practices. This isn't over, Mark says desperately. Rachel, this isn't over. I watch them take him away, then close the door and lean against it. He's right. It's not over, not by a long shot. The silence in the apartment is deafening after they take Mark away. I pour myself a glass of wine, the expensive bottle Sarah bought for one of her celebrations, and settle onto the couch that was never really mine. My phone buzzes with a call from an unknown number. Rachel! Sarah's voice is shaky, desperate. What did you do? The FBI just raided my hotel room. They took everything. My laptop, my files, my client records. Did they now? I take a sip of wine, savouring both the taste and the panic in her voice. You don't understand what you've done. My business, my clients, some of them are very powerful people, very dangerous people. Dangerous? I laugh, and the sound surprises even me. It's not the laugh of the woman they thought they knew. Sarah, you have no idea what dangerous looks like. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you're not in FBI custody right now because they don't have you yet. They're waiting. Waiting for what? For you to run. See, my brother's team has been tracking your movements for weeks. They know about the offshore accounts, the fake identities, the bolt holes you've set up in 3 different countries. They're just waiting to see which one you choose. The line goes quiet, except for the sound of Sarah's ragged breathing. You can't prove any of this, she finally says, but her voice has lost all its earlier confidence. Actually, I can. Remember that client of yours, Victoria Hendricks, the one whose husband was cheating on her? What about her? She didn't hire you to investigate her husband. She hired you to fabricate evidence that he was cheating so she could divorce him and take half his tech company fortune. Another silence. Longer this time. You helped her steal $50 million, Sarah. That's federal racketeering. And Victoria? She's been cooperating with the FBI for 6 months in exchange for immunity? That's impossible. Victoria would never... Victoria Hendricks doesn't exist, I interrupt. She's Agent Victoria Chen, my cousin, my other cousin, the one who specialises in undercover financial crimes. I can hear Sarah's world crashing down through the phone. The sharp intake of breath, the fumbling sounds as she presumably starts grabbing whatever she can carry. How long? She whispers. How long what? How long have you known? About everything? I lean back on the couch, swirling the wine in my glass. I've known about your little investigation business for 8 months, about you and Mark for 6 months, about the apartment, the fake documents, all of it. That's impossible. I was what? Stupid, naive, trusting. I set down my wine glass. No, Sarah, I was acting. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. You see, 8 months ago, my brother came to me with some very interesting information. The FBI had been investigating a private investigation firm that was suspected of multiple federal crimes. Identity theft, fraud, blackmail, racketeering, the works. Rachel, please. They showed me a photo of the woman who ran this firm. Imagine my surprise when I recognised her as my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, the one who supposedly lived in Seattle and never contacted him anymore. I stand up and walk to the window, looking down at the street where more FBI vehicles have arrived. So I did what any concerned citizen would do. I became an informant. You're lying. Am I? Tell me, Sarah, did you ever wonder why I was so easy to manipulate? Why I never questioned anything? Why I seemed so perfectly, conveniently trusting? I was feeding you exactly what you wanted to see. Every reaction, every emotion, every moment of supposed naivety was carefully calculated to make you feel superior, to make you think you were in control. The sound Sarah makes is barely human. A keening wail of someone who's just realised they've been outplayed at their own game. The recording device at dinner wasn't a surprise, Sarah. It was the grand finale. I needed you and Mark to confess to everything on tape in front of witnesses in a public place where there could be no question about the authenticity of the evidence. But you seemed so hurt, so broken. I am hurt, I say quietly. I am broken, but not because of Mark. I stopped loving Mark the moment I learned what he was really doing to me. No, I'm hurt because of what this whole experience taught me about people, about how easy it is to destroy someone when they trust you. Rachel, we can work something out. I have money, connections. Sarah, I interrupt, my voice sharp, look out your hotel window. A long pause, then, oh God. Red laser dots are so dramatic, don't you think? Like something out of a movie. They're surrounding the building. They've been surrounding the building since you checked in yesterday. Did you really think we didn't know exactly where you were every second? But I used cash, fake IDs. You used the fake IDs my cousin's team gave you, the ones with the embedded tracking chips, the ones that have been broadcasting your location since the moment you picked them up from your forger. Your forger, Marcus Chen, also my cousin. Funny how that works. Sarah's breathing is coming in short, panicked gasps now. How many of you are there? How many of us are what? How many Chens? How many family members involved in this? I smile, even though she can't see it. Sarah, you investigated Rachel Morrison. Sweet, simple, trusting Rachel Morrison, who works at an insurance company and doesn't have any family connections or resources. What are you saying? I'm saying you never investigated Rachel Morrison Chen Williams Park. The silence stretches so long I wonder if she's hung up. My mother's family, the Chens, own the largest private investigation firm on the West Coast. My father's family, the Morrisons, own half the real estate in this city. My stepfather's family, the Williams, have been in law enforcement for four generations. And my grandmother's family, the Parks, They've been running security and intelligence operations since before the FBI existed. You're telling me... I'm telling you that you picked the wrong mark, Sarah. You investigated a ghost, a carefully constructed identity designed to attract exactly the kind of predator you turned out to be. That's impossible. I saw your school records, your employment history, all real. All part of a very long game that started when I was 18 years old and decided I wanted to work in undercover operations. Rachel Morrison, insurance adjuster, is my cover identity. She has been for over a decade. The sound Sarah makes now is beyond despair. It's the sound of someone who's just realised they've been played by a master. But the relationship with Mark felt real because it was real. That's what made it so perfect. I really did fall for him, at least in the beginning. When the FBI first approached me about his connection to you, I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to protect him. Then why? Because when I dug deeper, when I really looked at our relationship, I realised something awful. I realised that even without your manipulation, Mark was never really in love with me. He was in love with the idea of me. The safe, simple woman who would never challenge him, never demand more than he was willing to give. I pause, watching as more federal agents take positions around the hotel. Do you know what the worst part was, Sarah? It wasn't discovering that my boyfriend was a lying, manipulative sociopath. It was discovering that I had been hiding who I really was for so long that I'd forgotten myself. I'd spent years playing this character, this harmless little woman, and somewhere along the way, I started to believe that's all I was. Rachel, please. But you and Mark reminded me of something important. You reminded me that I'm not harmless, I'm not simple, and I'm definitely not safe. Through the phone, I can hear shouting, the sound of doors being kicked in. They're here, Sarah whispers. Yes, they are. Will you visit me in prison? The question catches me off guard. After everything, after all the lies and manipulation and cruelty, there's something almost childlike in the way she asks it. No, I say softly, I won't. Why not? Because I'm done, Sarah, with all of it, with the games, with the lies, with the elaborate schemes. I'm done being someone I'm not. So, what happens now? You go back to your real life? I look around the apartment one last time, at the life I built with a man who never really loved me, in a home that was never really mine. No, I say, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. I'm going to build a new one. The line goes dead as the FBI takes Sarah into custody. I finish my wine and start packing. Not everything. Most of this stuff belongs to Sarah anyway, and I have no desire to keep reminders of the last 3 years. Just my real things. My books, my photos, my grandmother's jewellery, the things that belong to the real me. My phone rings. It's Uncle David. It's done, he says simply. Both of them? Both of them. Sarah's been charged with racketeering, fraud, identity theft, and about a dozen other federal crimes. Mark's looking at conspiracy charges and being an accessory to everything Sarah did. And the civil suit? Will own everything they have by the time this is over. The apartment, Sarah's business, Mark's assets, all of it will go to compensating you and Sarah's other victims. I don't want their money. Then donate it. Set up a foundation for victims of relationship fraud. Use it to help other people who've been through what you went through. I like that idea. I like it a lot. There's something else, Uncle David continues. The Bureau wants to offer you a job, a real job, not just consulting. They're impressed with how you handled this operation. What kind of job? The kind where you get to do what you just did to Sarah and Mark, but to people who actually deserve it. I think about that for a moment. About spending my life hunting predators, protecting people who can't protect themselves, making sure that what happened to me never happens to anyone else. I'll consider it, I say. After I hang up, I sit in the quiet apartment for a few more minutes, thinking about the last 3 years, about the woman I was when this all started and the woman I am now. Rachel Morrison, the insurance adjuster, is gone. She was always a fiction anyway, a character I played so well I almost lost myself in the role. But Rachel Chen? She's just getting started. I pick up my suitcase and head for the door. As I'm about to leave, I notice an envelope that's been slipped under the door. My name is written on it in handwriting I don't recognise. Inside is a single photograph and a note. The photograph shows me at age 16, standing next to a man I haven't seen in 20 years. A man I've tried very hard to forget. The note has only 4 words. We need to talk. It's signed with a name that makes my blood run cold. My father. The father who abandoned me when I was 17. The father who disappeared without a trace and left my mother to raise me alone. The father who I was told was dead. The father who, according to the postmark on this envelope, is very much alive and has been watching me this entire time. I look at the photograph again, really look at it, and notice something I missed before. In the background, barely visible, is a young girl with auburn hair, a girl who looks exactly like Sarah. My hand starts shaking as the implications hit me. This wasn't random. None of this was random. Sarah didn't pick me by accident. Mark didn't meet me by chance. This whole thing, this elaborate 3-year psychological torture session, wasn't about testing a relationship or feeding someone's ego. It was about something much bigger, much darker. And my father, the man who's been dead to me for 20 years, is somehow at the centre of it all. I grab my phone and dial my brother's number. Michael, it's Rachel. We have a problem. A big one. What kind of problem? I look at the photograph one more time, at my father's face, at the girl who would grow up to destroy my life. The kind that means everything we just accomplished was exactly what someone wanted us to accomplish. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that we didn't catch the real enemy, Michael. We caught the bait. Rachel, you're not making sense. I'm making perfect sense, I say, heading for the stairs. Sarah and Mark weren't the masterminds. They were pawns. Just like me. Then who? Someone who's been playing a much longer game than any of us realised. Someone who knew exactly how I'd react to being betrayed. Someone who counted on me using my family connections to destroy Sarah's operation. I reached the lobby and pushed through the doors into the night air. Someone who needed Sarah's criminal network shut down and me positioned exactly where I am right now. Which is where... I look up at the building that was my home for 3 years, at the windows that belonged to a life that was never real, at the future I thought I was building with a man who never loved me. Alone, I say quietly, angry, and very, very dangerous. Rachel, I have to go, Michael. There's someone I need to see. Who? I fold the photograph and slip it into my pocket. A ghost. As I walk away from the building, away from the wreckage of my false life, I can't help but smile. Because whoever orchestrated this elaborate game made one crucial mistake. They assumed that once I destroyed Sarah and Mark, I'd be satisfied. They assumed I'd go back to my quiet life and never ask any more questions. They assumed wrong. The game isn't over. It's just beginning. And this time, I'm not playing defense. This time, I'm hunting.